Well, hello there. It's the headless guitar stringer here with you again today, and I have a client's six-string acoustic here that we are going to put some new strings on. So what we're going to do, we're going to start by loosening off the existing strings. Now, there are those who prefer to take one string off at a time because they're concerned about the change in tension of the on the neck. I think over an extended period they may have a point, but I've never had any issue in terms of restringing, for the amount of time that the strings have to be off here. So we're just going to jump right in, and using our handy dandy string winder, we're going to loosen the strings off to the point at which we can safely cut them off. So, again, that's a string winder, and for $2.95, a wonderful investment, wonderful tool, very handy. This is a pair of side cutters, I believe they call them. They use them in electrical. You can get them in any hardware store. They work really well for cutting these guys off. You can, if you like, unwind these from the string head, but honestly, I find it a lot easier and a lot faster just to cut them off. So I've loosened the tension. Cut each of the strings around the sound hole there, and then take each of the strings and just unwrap them from the post. Probably a good idea to keep these off the floor, because if your vacuum gets hold of them, they really get chewed up. The string winder does have a slot for pulling the pegs on the guitar, for pulling the pegs out here. It is a probably safer method, or the safest method of taking the pins out. I also like to keep the pins in the same order. There's a very, very narrow slot in the pin, and I find that they get worn to the appropriate string size that you use. So I think it's a good idea. Not really critical, but it's a good idea to keep the pins in the same order when you take them out and put them back in. So again, you can use the string winder to pull the pins, and if you have any difficulty, if you're very careful, and if it's your guitar, which is probably a safe bet, you can also use the side cutters and just get them underneath and pop the pin out there. But I'm going to stick with the safer plastic version on this guitar. If you have a battery on the inside of your guitar, which some acoustics do, this is a very good time for changing batteries. You can reach inside and access the battery pack or pouch, as the case may be. This guitar doesn't actually have that option, or doesn't have a battery in it, so we don't need to worry about that. Very good opportunity to give things a little bit of a polish as well. So just using my handy dandy cloth here, just get some of the dust off of the headstock from underneath. By the way, you might notice my neck stand here. Very handy. I very often keep a capo on the end of my guitar, and it works very well as a little neck stand there. So, yeah, just getting a little bit of dust off. We're not going to do anything as far as neck treatment is concerned on this guitar, so it suffices just to get the dust out of there. And in some cases, the nut may be loose here. This one is glued in place, but if the nut is loose, then when you put the strings back on, you can maybe put the strings on loosely, and the tension of the strings will again hold the nut in place. It can be glued as well, but the strings will hold the nut in place. And the bridge piece here, be careful that this doesn't fall out on you while you have the strings out. They do pop in and pop out. This one seems to be quite secure in there, so I'm going to leave that. But it is important, if it does come out, that it goes back in the proper way, or in the proper orientation. You can usually tell by the grooves that have actually been created by the strings. Okay, and if you have any difficulty beyond that, you might want to check online or check with a local shop to see how that should be oriented. But if you can keep it in there, you're better off. So. Anyways, in terms of the strings themselves, I'm putting on some D'Addarios here. These are light gauge, 12 to 53. Represents thousandths of an inch, so 12 thousandths of an inch is the thinnest, or the first string. and they go through to, I suppose, 53 thousandths of an inch, which is the 6th string. These are nice. They're color-coded by the ball on the end, so you've got like a gold ball on the 6th string, and then I believe it's, say, red on the 5th, black on the 4th, and so it goes. If you're ever stuck and you don't have a color code, generally speaking, if you're comparing two strings while they're wound up like this, you can generally get a pretty good idea by the feel of the tension of, sort of holding the circle like that, one versus another, to be able to tell the thickness. When they're wrapped up like this, it's a little easier to tell the difference between the different thicknesses. But basically what we do is we take this guy. Now, the ball on the end here, what I like to do is I like to kink the string just about where the wrapping ends there, okay? And what this does is the pin is not actually supposed to or catch the ball at the end of the pin, okay? I'll try and make this so that you can see it. So basically, we don't want the ball stuck on the end of the pin. We want the string curled around and the pin actually runs past the ball on the inside of the guitar. So by kinking the string in this fashion, when I put it in the hole, it'll sort of point back the other way, and then the pin will slide past cleanly, okay? So, in the hole we go. Pin goes in, and just press it down. You can press it down fairly firmly. Now, I like to cheat on the first couple of strings. I've done this a few times. So what I generally do with the 6th string is I'll take the string and I will wrap it one time around the post, okay? I'll hold it down with my opposite thumb, and then I'll feed it through the hole towards me. And just pull it through tight, okay? And then while I'm pressing down with my index finger, I'll just give the machine head a couple of turns here. And I kink the other part of the string up. And sort of guess my tuning. That's pretty close for my E. With the thicker strings, we don't want too many wraps around the post, okay? With the thinner strings, as you'll see later on, we can have 4 or 5 wraps around the post. With the thin ones, we only want, like with this 6th string, I only really have room to have like 1.5 wraps on there, okay? So I kink that up to the top, and I cut that off with my side cutters flush, and that's my 6th string done. Moving on, same thing, so I'm going to kink the ball at the end a little bit here. Take my pin, string in the hole, slide the pin past the ball, firm that up. Same thing here. I probably should have mentioned the last one, lining the post hole, turning it so that the post is on an angle, so that I'm sort of threading back in towards myself when I thread the hole. But again, with the 5th string, I cheat a little bit. I'm going to wrap this 2 times around. I'm going to press the string down the post. I'm going to thread the end over top of the string and through the hole. Pull her snug, press down with my index, couple of turns. We're good to go. From time to time, the pin may pop back on you a little bit, so you may just have to press that again with your thumb just to keep it down. The more economical guitars, shall we say, sometimes have an issue with the bridge pins, and sometimes you have to wrestle with them a little bit to get them to sit properly. Going from the 4th string here, I'm a little more traditional in the way that I string them. So same thing, we'll bend the end there and slide it in place here. Again, my post lining it up, and when you're threading the strings, we're always threading from the inside out, okay? So we're always threading from the inside of the headstock. In this case, I'm threading towards myself through the hole. Now, there are a whole bunch of different ways or different ways that people do things in terms of how much string do I leave. If I leave way too much string, I'm going to end up with too many wraps on the post. And if I start with very little string, if I pull it too tight, I'm going to get like a half a wrap, and it's not going to stay in tune very well. Again, it's an experience thing. I think probably 3 fingers. I've got fairly big fingers, but 3 fingers at the 12th fret is a fair one. Some people will take the string and actually run it past the post and sort of measure 3 fingers there. Okay, I think you'll find with a bit of practice that you'll get used to the kind of string that you want. Probably a little extra. So maybe let's go 4 fingers. Let's say at the 12th fret is probably a safer bet. And so what I do is kink it up here. Through the loose end is kinked up, pressing down with my index finger so it wraps down the post, holding the tension with my other fingers behind here, and then using my handy dandy string winder, just turning slowly to get that to wrap onto the post, and just letting the tension come down. Okay. That got me about 2.5, 3 wraps on the 4th string, which is pretty reasonable. So we're down to the 3rd string. Now on the opposite side, so I'm threading inside out. Okay, so that means I'm threading from the inside towards the outside, towards the tuning head. The thinner the string, the more slack I can afford to leave here. It's not as critical because I've got more room to have more wraps on the post. Quite honestly, the more wraps you have, the better it's going to stay in tune for you. So again, I think 4 fingers at the 12th fret is a pretty safe bet. And I'll just wrap this around a little more and kink the end up. When I'm working from this side, I use my middle finger to hold the string down. My thumb keeps the tension on the back side, and I'm turning towards myself and just letting the string wrap down the post, maintaining the tension. Again, 2nd string especially, you can leave quite a bit of slack, kink it up, index down, thumb holds the tension, away we go. On these thin strings, you may well end up with 8 or 9 wraps on the post, but as long as you're keeping the tension and keeping her pressed down, it's only going to help you. They're so thin that they'll fit those wraps on the post, and your tuning will be all the much better for it. All right, so I'm going to do my best to tune this acoustic up now, and I've set the tuner in front of the camera, as you can see here. This is a chromatic tuner, so it will detect any note, and I'm going to try and give you a bit of an idea of what happens when we're using a tuner of this type. If I play the thickest or 6th string, I'm getting a reading there of a D, very high, way to the right. So I'm going to tighten the 6th string, and that just changed to an E flat. It's an E with that small B beside it. I'm going to keep turning all the way until that needle goes all the way off. Now I got an E. This is what I'm after. And just keep gently turning until I get that needle right in the middle. Okay? So there's my E. If I tune my 5th string, or play my 5th string, G sharp, turning all the way off the end. There's my A. 4th string, looking for D. Now that's E flat, which is the equivalent of D sharp. So I gotta loosen that. And I drop back. There's my D. And that's pretty good. 3rd string, I'm looking for G. Got an F. Up I go. There's F sharp. Keep trucking. There's my G. 2nd string is showing B flat, all the way off. there's my B. First string C sharp, D, E flat, there's my E. Now I'll show you how to stretch the strings, or how I like to stretch the strings, and I'm just going to do that right now, and then you'll see, having stretched the strings now, if I play the E which was in tune, it's dropped down to E flat. So I'm going to tighten that back up. To my E. My fifth is dropped to G sharp, tightening to A. C sharp's coming up to D. Here's my third G. Second string B shows B flat. There's my B. And there's my E. Let me show you my string stretching technique. Once the strings are all in place, what I do, I'll tune through the strings once, as I showed you on the tuner. And what I do is I hold the strings here, because I don't want the string to damage the nut at the other end. Yeah, so basically what I do is I just hold onto the strings at this point here, and I'll take like the sixth string here, and I can really give this a pretty good tug to either side. And the same with the fifth string, okay? And again, just holding the strings here, okay, because I don't want to damage the nut over here, and just give each of these a stretch. When I get to the first and second string, I'll just push them with my other hand as if I was doing a bend when I was playing normally, okay? And what this does, it stretches the string a tiny bit, but more importantly, it tightens the string up around the post up here. And so having stretched that now, if I check my tuning again, I will see that that note will have dropped down, but each time I stretch, it should drop a little less, and that way when I play, it should stay in tune. Okay? Thanks for watching.